Hi there, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. Today I want to continue discussions in general and also about Don Hatley. I also want to incorporate the talk about the Dylan Rounds case community as a whole, where it currently stands, my opinion on it, and actions taken along the way in order to get to this position right now, because there'll be things people aren't quite aware of or have never thought of before. So this video in general will be of your interest in some way or another. So it's best advised for you to watch from start to finish to fully understand what's being talked about today. We can focus on Don Hatley, like how we have kept up with the theme in recent time. If there's anyone out there that isn't quite familiar with the discussions, with the key important topic points and events, what we've been looking at, you can always catch up. It's all available on my channel. If you was to click top right corner of the screen where the I symbol is, there'll be a drop down box, the playlist or the coverage by me, and the last video. So it will make more sense to you. Feel free to check that out when you do have time. But right now, welcome to all those that are currently in the live premiere. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat box. And also, in general, if anyone has questions or key points you want to mention, things in general, leave all your comments under this video down below. You'll also find a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you want to support the channel in one way or another. There are ways to do so. So with that all being said and done, as for a certain area of the case community that can wait later, we need to focus more importantly on the Dylan Rounds situation, and more so one of the persons of interest, maybe the best way of referring to the individual, known as Don Hatley, or as some people said, Don Hatley, depends how you pronounce his name. Bit of an ongoing mystery, which is a bit typical, right? I've made predictions with Don Hatley in the past. I was suggested back then, could Don appear in court at some point when the trial goes underway? Of course, not happened yet because of all the delays, but in the future, when it does come about, or hopefully when it does, will Don make an appearance, yes or no? And in between now and then, he's left losing to distance himself from certain people. Is that a possibility? I mean, we've looked at alternative ways. Did Don Hatley leave Lucin because it was too quiet? There was no one left. You know, Dylan's gone. A long-time friend Brenner has been taken away, so what is the for Don there? He might as well go back and visit family, which he supposedly had done. It makes sense. Was it a reason factor of guilt, knowing what happened, what he's done, or what he knows, and he didn't want to stay there any longer, but he couldn't leave immediately because with the police presence it would look too suspicious, so he had to wait his time. You know, different things like that. Although that's an alternative area to be looking at, we can still make highlights here and there because it is all about Don, and we might as well spread some awareness on the situation. But what I want to do today, first of all at least, is look back to the last video and the comment section, because I think there was the odd question which maybe answered by me in some way or another. Additional interesting points too and comments we need to acknowledge from people that have been watching in recent time and long-time viewers, like how we normally do. What I do have, and some people will be familiar with, other people may have never seen it before or forgotten. There are some old and new photos, let's put it that way, of Don Hatley, and it might tie in with some of the people's questions or to do with the concept of the biker club, right? One interesting concept just want to put out there, what I do also want to highlight, I'm not going all in on a particular thing, I'm just, you know, talking about it based on how it was mentioned in the past by other people, that is all. The odd person in chat right now, don't get triggered, don't get offended, just simply wording it based on how it was presented in the past. So when you had Kurt Wadsworth and this militia or private militia walking about, guns in their hand, a threat to Dylan Rounds, responsible. That is not portrayed by me or worded like that. It was said in the past. I just wanted to bring it up because I want to know your thoughts on it. Do you think it's ridiculous? Where did it directly come from in the first place, out of interest? A certain agenda, like other things along the way? Yeah, maybe. And then the other one, I guess, was the biker club. Yeah, the biker club, biker gang being responsible for Dylan's death. And it's like, what, a group of guys in tight leather going through a desert end up just happening to kill Dylan Rounds just like that casually? Doesn't quite make sense. I mean, some biker clubs can be maybe a bit reckless, dangerous, but others are kind of tight-knit, keep to themselves, right? And sometimes it can give a bad look on biker clubs in general in an unfair way of portraying them. So I don't know what the whole concept of these different groups, clans, supposed gangs out there responsible for the outcome of Dylan. Was there any evidence to tie Dylan with these type of people, these supposed groups? Never really saw it personally. Can't remember where it actually came from, but I did hear other people talking about it, references made by comments and in other chats in the past. You see how things like that and much more has faded away since, partially because people have faded away themselves, the ones responsible for it and distributing it. And secondly, it was either debunked or it was never reinforced, so it just faded out. Not a good look, is it? It goes to show there's a lot of wasted air. If you come in late to this case, it's completely different compared to if you stuck around from start till now. And some people will be able to relate to that in the chat who have been watching and heard about the case maybe even before I did, right? This will kind of tie in with the discussion later on in this video, so don't go anywhere. So, with a little bit of an introduction out the way and a few points raised, let's just get straight into last night's comments and begin answering questions and see what people have had to say in recent time. I'll just adjust it to the newest comments. Not too many to get through, but some key points. We've got Cleo there. Glad you found the video interesting. Cleo says, can't believe this case, so unbelievable, on point. Pointing out key factors. You're welcome. We got Glenn as well. June, what does June have to say? I think Justin Rounds feels Don Hatley is involved. Box elders seem to take the cake being lazy fools, but I think they're connected to things out there they don't want looked into. But look at cases now. Riley S. as an example. The public and YouTubers are doing more than law enforcement. I've never heard Brenner clean the grain truck before. Heard about the bags he took out the truck. Now. Right. Response? Son, Don Hatley. Right. Oh, spelling correction, I guess. Sometimes it can happen with the auto type. Matt Lingo's had some spelling auto types recently. Me too. It gets very annoying. Silly technology. But anything there I need to respond back to? Box Elder seems to take the cake being lazy. Wait, you calling Don Hatley a cake? I mean, he might be the size of one. I don't know. Anyway, connected to things out there they don't want looked into. So the LE maybe being reluctant because it will dig up all kinds of darkness or corruption. I mean, there was references in the past, suggestions, theories, ideas that with the LE tied with these type of criminals out there, deals in the background, turning a blind eye. Was the LE corrupt? Was there enough proof or evidence of that? Nah, don't think so. I mean, Doug from No Thanks said he had dirt on the LE and some of the detectives. Never went anywhere, did it? So maybe it was just a lot of words and no real evidence. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, as for Riley S., never heard of that case. Is that the latest, hottest, trending true crime case out there, which all the YouTubers flock to? Let me know. Okay. Yeah. And even June, never heard about Brenner cleaning the grain truck. Anyone else? I never heard of it either. Smooth fishing. Brenner had nothing to lose if he got caught carry stuff out the grain shed, because if he left it, he knew he would get caught, so he took it out, and getting caught with the stuff, he was caught. But it was a chance he had to take. And in that instance, right, you could label Brenner as being ridiculously brave, walking on in and thinking he had a chance. And yet, in the end, he was able to successfully take away key evidence. Well, potentially take away key evidence. Take away something, at least, from the Grange Shed at that time, at that moment. And yeah, it's true what you say. At that moment, he had nothing to lose. Either he waits for the police to find it, or he makes himself look suspicious and gets apprehended in the process. It's that the latter option favoured Brenner in that moment, which 99% of the time wouldn't normally work, but Brenner was very lucky and got away with it due to the incompetence by the LE. So it really says a lot, that. If we were to take a brief look back, though, from, what would you say, 30th of May, 29th, the 29th of May, the 30th of May, the 31st of May, when the phone call made, the psychic passing on to Kurt Wadsworth about the hostage situation, getting the attention of the police, the family going on down there to investigate. Maybe a whole day worth, maybe. What I'm pointing out is Brenner made it harder on himself, right? He could think to himself he was in a lose-lose situation, but he could have been in a better situation if he took action sooner rather than leaving it till June 2nd. Okay, had 3-4 days to do it, okay? But he left it last minute, which is a bit weird, isn't it? June says, what is the blue thing with handles on the left? Looks like it carries something heavy. Every time I see pictures of inside things look moved around. I can't even remember what the black object on the shelf against the wall was. Well, as for the black object on the shelf at the back of the Grange Shed, even when it was visible and there, it's been documented on my channel, you can always look back at it, but we never could identify it to begin with, so it was always unknown as to what it was, right? It might not have been that important, but considering it was once there and no longer, you'd think, was it taken away in the investigation? But it was taken away at a later point. It wasn't early on, it was later, like a few months later. So I don't know what happened there, unless it just fell off the shelf, but I don't remember seeing it on the ground anywhere, unless someone did see it. As for the blue thing with handles, well, we can look back at the photo shortly, June, as we get on with this video. I'll refer back to that. Mousetrap, you're welcome. Interesting name as well, Mousetrap. So you're the trap which catches the mice. You know what, Mousetrap, we could have definitely have used you for the right reasons in the past when all the rats were nibbling away here and there, right? All the squeakers. Christy says, is the Grange Shed still in use today? I guess it's abandoned, right? You got no caretaker, okay? Parcels of land around the Grange Shed property can still be owned by people, but as for actual action out there, activity doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe it's used or looked into, or people get near to it every once in a while, such as with the Dillon Rounds searches, the planned ones, the private ones. That's probably about it. I know there was talks previously about what's happening to Dillon's farm, what's happening to the Grange Shed, right? Not so much with the Grange Shed though, because Dillon did not own it. As for the farm though, which Dillon did, I guess it's still uncertain as to what will happen. I guess it's a waiting game until they find Dillon, then they can make the decision what happens to the farm and the surrounding area if they bother, right? Sun says, does anyone know if Don Hatley and Ed Harshberger belong to a biker club called the Sundowners? Well, I've heard references about Don and Ed being a part of a biker club. I don't know about the name, but I do have some photos of Ed. I don't know if it will link in with this Sundowners, but we'll take a look at the photos later, Sun. And you can let me know if there's any clues in the pics, if it links to your question. Sun says, hello, Raf. We don't know who really dug that hole in the shed. Perhaps Brenner dug that hole, filling 4 to 8 garbage bags full of blood-soaked dirt. But it did look sifted. Also, look up all the new real estate companies selling land around Luton and Montello, send me your email and I'll send you the YouTube links. They have new pictures that might be of interest. Wait, so all these different people selling land around Luton and Montello, is there a reason for that? An influx? Has it been influenced at all by Dylan Round's case? Your thoughts there? The part about we don't really know who dug the hole, I mean, we've got an idea of who dug the hole, but that's only based off from what other people have said. And, the other people that said it and suggested it, pointed it out, aren't within the case. So what? People with insider information? It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds have never mentioned it. Police have never mentioned it. It's been kept quiet, hasn't it? The hole in the ground, in the shed. And yeah, it does stand out. It's obvious why it's there and people have highlighted it. I'm just wondering, did it ever come up in any questions, Q&As, which Candice Cooley did? Live stream interviews elsewhere, like Doug's channel. Did anyone ever call in or ask, hey Candice Cooley, what was that hole in the shed? What was that all about? We never saw a dedicated article or news piece on it, which is a shame, or what was retrieved from it. I mean, if we're basing it off the description of the spring cleaning, basically Brenner was moving stuff about and putting things into bags. There was no references by Candice Cooley or police about Brenner using a shovel or digging stuff up. Now, I'm aware that there is that shovel in the background, which could have been used possibly because it did look a bit dirty, but what, by Brenner? Don't think so. Because once the grain truck was removed by Brenner, so he had more space in the shed, and the family and the police watched him get on with stuff, how much of a view did they have when Brenner was bagging things up? Could the family see anything being put into those bags, anything unusual or suspicious? Surely they would have had a good enough view to see whether Brenner was digging a hole or not, because it would have been right in the middle, towards the back of the shed. It would have stood out and it would have looked very obvious and strange. I still feel that, let's say police presence responsible for it, because it was referenced in the past that dogs were within the area and there was final hits and verified alerts with time. But the one thing that doesn't quite make sense, son, and let me know your thoughts down below. Whilst it's obvious that there is a hole there, as we've seen in the footage and photos, and whilst there's been some people in the community that have said biological matter or something like that was found of Dylan Rounds. Was it biological matter? Is that what you call it? Or some kind of substance to do with a human was found there, and that's why it was dug up. And it was retrieved successfully. And yet, the only point Candice Cooley ever mentioned about the grain shed was no forensics, no DNA retrieved in time. It never happened. It was wasted. It went to waste. It was left too long. If that's what Candice Cooley is saying, then why was a hole dug up and why was things supposedly taken away from it? Soil sample or something else buried? Is that an example of Candice Cooley trying to silence the truth because she's trying to protect the case once again? That police are responsible for digging a hole, but Candice Cooley can't confirm that to the public because it's sensitive information. You get what I'm saying? You're going against the possible truth to try and protect the case, but it does make you look bad in the process. Applying it to Candice Cooley, maybe. Let's move on up. And last but not least, yes, Ref, I agree. Spring cleaning was weird, and I think Briscoe the horse was in the metal shed, and maybe Dylan let the horse loose or hit the gate. I suspect that there were bags of bloody dirt. Maybe they dumped them out in the desert en route to Wendover or the dump. Also, when Justin and Candice filmed in the grain shed, it looked like someone dug the hole out deeper. Right, are you saying that before and after? 1 minute it was a hole, next thing it was much deeper. Is that what you're mentioning? I mean, There was a time where I was looking at the Salty Pancakes footage in the past of the grain shed, and he went up close to the hole looking into it, and the hole itself wasn't that big and it wasn't that deep, okay? But then later, weeks or a month later, Justin Rounds took a photo looking inside of the grain shed, and you could see the dirt mound in the back and stuff, but due to the shadows, bit of an illusion, it made it seem bigger than it actually was. So there's that to take in mind. But we've reached the end of the comments here. I guess we can move on to some of the photos now. To begin with June's original question about the blue object on the left-hand side, I'm assuming with the handles she's referring to this. There's a bit of blueness, but I don't think it's associated with the bag. It's just an object nearby. Just underneath it, there appears to be some hay straw. I don't know if that gives a clue or not, but correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, it does have handles. It looks like it could be used, reinforced as well, for carrying heavy stuff made out of cotton or some other kind of material. Looks a bit dirty, as you would expect. I'm sure I've heard references in the past about this was one of the bags which came from Dylan Round's grain truck. That this white bag was carrying some, if not all, of the seed within it. I could be wrong, but I'm sure I've heard references, and that it was taken out of the grain truck and left by the side within the shed, as you see here. Possibility. It's a fair suggestion, pointing it out. As for the black object on the bookshelf, it was the middle shelf there next to that white object or box. Can't seem to see it on the floor, even from here, so I don't know where it went. I don't know how important it was. Now, June, you're going about how items, furniture kept moving about. I would say as a reference point, did we ever see any footage of the grain shed from the first week? No. But we saw it from Glorindellon's point of view, Salty Pancake's point of view. And then after that, months later, it would have been Candice Cooley, I guess. It would have been Justin Rounds, and I believe that these items, what you see moved about here, were during the time of when Heavy D came on down, possibly. Could be wrong. I just thought with the chairs being put out, maybe that's what was used to balance the camera on, or for Heavy D to sit on. And you look back at Heavy D's video when that was recorded, it gives you a bit of a time scale. Harder to measure back to other people's videos, such as Pancakes, because the original upload date I don't think is provided anymore because it was re-uploaded later. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. As for the other stuff, kind of clutter, it depends the concealment, right, of where things could have been placed or hidden by Brenner, and then he had to find it once again. As for the hole back there, you see a bit of the mound of the dirt collected nearby to the hole. Back there, you probably can't see it, but up against the corner towards the back wall of the shed, there is a shovel stood up. My question is, was that shovel used to dig that hole? I wonder. And who by, of course. You think police, maybe, if a search was done in the area, for them to be directed in the centre but down towards the back end of the shed, is that exactly where Dylan was killed? Or dragged to after being killed? A temporary burial spot, another way of looking at it, right? Now, what we look at here are some post photos from the past, and you know, a bit more closer to his age, the odd other photo which I'll share with you now. Can't remember where it came from, this, but it was passed about. This is from Don Hatley's Facebook page, which I think is private now, possibly. And Don had an Instagram page or something. So we can look at these. I can share them with you. Let me know your thoughts. So that's Don Hatley there in the leather waistcoat, waist jacket, some black shades on. As for the location, I've got no clue where it is. As for the woman in the background, no clue who she is. Maybe a friend, maybe a girlfriend at the time. I mean, don't know how old Don was here. 30s, 40s probably, maybe 40s. Obviously he looks a bit overweight, but I think that's consistent with Don. This was posted April 2nd, 2019 as his updated profile picture, but that's not saying that in 2019 he looked like that. This is like a retro photo because you can tell by the grain in the background and the colours aren't quite sharp. Taken with an old camera photo or something, right? But I guess the interesting part here, besides seeing a photo of Don Hatley from the past, it's who responded back to it on Don's Facebook page. Justin Rounds, the real Justin Rounds, called out Don Hatley for being a fat beep. And Justin also said, Don, you made a big mistake. Now, what does that mean? As I said, this was in the past, okay? So I guess another thing to highlight, yes, it does say 3 hours ago by Justin Rounds, but that was at the time of when the screenshot was taken. So that'll be back in 2022, I believe. Now, the post itself by Don was in 2019. So some people could think, oh, did Justin Rounds call out Don long before the disappearance and murder of Dylan Rounds? No. Basically, Don Hatley isn't that active on his Facebook page, right? So the last post by Don, or one of them, on his profile, Justin decided to call him out on that post, right? Kind of similar to how people may leave a comment on your YouTube short videos asking a question, but it's not on your latest video, it's on an older one. Maybe it's done so not as many people will see that comment by the person that's trying to ask a question, in a way, right? Now, with Justin Rounds publicly labelling Don as being fat, which isn't the end of the world, but more importantly, saying that you made a big mistake, what did that mean at the time of 2022? What did Don Hatley do in 2022 during the investigation of Dylan Rounds, which made Justin believe that a mistake was made? A mistake in hanging out with Brenner? A mistake in playing a role in the case? It comes across as if Justin Rounds knows more about this than anybody else does. Now, there was times on and off where Justin did call out Don and said to him, meet me at the main line of Dylan's property, I guess. Bring your gay son and your whole family. Remember that reference? And then the other cryptic post by Justin Rounds that said, 3 people can hold the truth even if 2 are dead or something. Was it Benjamin Franklin? A photo of him on that quote, that saying, which Justin Rounds reposted. 3 people hold the secrets, 2 of which are gone, dead or something. I can't remember. I mean, the 3 people could be Dylan Rounds because he knew what happened but can't say anything. James Brenner, Don Hatley, the 3 individuals, one of which was impacted, the other 2 responsible or knowing something that happened. Is that what Justin was getting at? Now, it didn't happen all the time. It was more on and off, infrequent, but there was a consistency in kind of a hatred that Justin had towards Don Hatley. Must be for good reason as well. Must be justified in some way. But it comes across as if Justin Rounds knows more than others. I mean, does anyone know what mistake Don Hatley made within the investigation of the case? I mean, people say that Don Hatley passed on the lie detector test, as Florida Hiker mentioned last night. But this is the thing, and this is what I find interesting. Whilst Don Hatley passed the lie detector test, how come he lied directly to the face of the police when saying, if you go up Pilot Peak, you might find Dylan Rounds or you might find something? Out of all the places, why would Don Hatley send police on a wild goose chase? 2 to 4 hours it took to get up to Pilot Peak, only to find absolutely nothing. And as we said with common sense, would someone like Brenner take Dylan up to a mountain by vehicle or on foot? No, very far-fetched. If you can dispose of somebody on lower ground, then that's what you would do. And that's probably what Brenner did, somewhere, maybe further away. So My initial point stands. Why did Don Hatley pass the lie detector test but lied directly to the face of the police when giving off ideas or tips about where Dylan could be found at? Candice Cooley did say, and I think she was present to witness it, that when the police did return back, they had a few words with Don and they weren't too happy. Don't know if they pinned him up against a wall or something, but maybe the odd reference was mentioned there. Squared up to him, possibly, the police guy, detective, whoever. Let me know your thoughts there. Why would Don do that? I mean, if people have suggested, I've suggested it as well. Call it direct, call it unintentional, but it can still be treated as a decoy, right? Kurt Wadsworth getting the attention of family, police, that Dylan supposedly held hostage, influenced by the psychic ex-girlfriend in the background. Nevertheless, a distraction, a decoy, intentional or unintentional by Kurt Wadsworth. Remember those two keywords, okay? One or the other. Either way, somebody else can benefit from it. Someone like Brenner, someone like Don, whoever else is involved in the background. If it diverts police and family's attention from the key area, then it means it gives space for the criminal, the one responsible for Dylan's death, disappearance, to act on cleaning up after oneself. Just as like an example, right? So if that can be used as a decoy, diverting attention from the police to a different spot, so it gives you time, bides you time. Well, couldn't the same have happened to Don Hatley, telling the police to go up Pilot Peak 2 to 4 hours? What did Don Hatley, what did Brenner do in that space of time? Did they do that to send the police in the wrong direction so they could clean up after themselves or do something in the background? You get what I'm saying? Because it's a good distraction, isn't it? You send somebody off so they spend time out there and then you can get on with the real stuff. A similar example of interpreting it would be when Lance Kelly was stating how he's somewhat important in the search for Dylan Rounds and that it was the police that acknowledged him for searching in the Lucin area. But Lance Kelly said that the police ordered him to be searching in the mountainous area whilst they were searching elsewhere. Now, I interpreted it as the police didn't like the idea of Lance Kelly searching about on land because it could be harmful to the case and reckless. So instead of denying him of searching, they just simply said, go off, play over there and search about whilst we do the real work. That's just an interpretation, almost like a form of keeping the person busy whilst the others are doing the real work or searching in the key hotspot area. That's one way of looking at it. Okay, so just to circle back round to Justin Round's response here, originally back in 2022, calling out Don Hatley, showing a form of negativity towards him as if Justin feels or thinks that Don is responsible for Dylan's death at that moment in time. What was the triggering point? What's the mistake made by Don? Let me know down below. Next photo is another old one, as you can see. This was posted on Don's Instagram page, which is surprising that he has one, but he did. I don't know if he still does or not. But an old photo there, outside of a house. No clue where it's taken, but if anyone wants to give context, you're welcome to do so down below. This one could be of some interest to some people. Son, let me know your thoughts here. Appears to be taken inside of a bar, maybe a local bar, but I don't know where exactly. It doesn't look like Saddle Sore Bar, so different location. In Nevada, Utah, Idaho, I don't know. Two guys there. On the right-hand side with the Top Hog Festival. No, it's not Dale C. And that's not Laura. No, that's Don Hatley. Okay, the one on the right. You can see, have big build. Okay, the guy on the left, no clue who he is. Some guitar on the wall on the back. The glowing sign, what does that say? Rolling Rock and maybe Roll. Let Robe Brewer. Oh, it must be some kind of alcohol distribution. And then there is a mirror back there. Don't know if it's got a brand on. I guess it's on the mirror because it's not exactly reflected. It says Heffenweisen. Maybe it's some German people here, or Missy, or anyone else, I don't know what it's called, Strumpel or something. Any of the German people watching right now, is that German? What does it mean? Is it to a German beer? Could be, from the looks of it, alcohol. I'm just trying to look for keywords, which could be a name of a biker's gang. We call it Sundowns or something. What Sun said, Down Sons. Can't see any of that wording here, but this looks like some kind of like bikers club, or it's welcome to bikers. Don Hatley supposed to be a biker. Have we ever seen a photo of Ed Harshberger? I don't think so. Let me know if you've seen a photo of Ed Harshberger, out of interest. This photo, don't know if this is the same place as here, but you got Don on the left here, looking a bit older, and then on the right, I wonder who that guy is on the right. Wouldn't it be weird or a bit of coincidence if it was Ed Harshberger? I'm not saying that it is, but could it be? If they're kind of friends, if they're a part of the same biker club. I'm not too sure personally. I think someone said that Ed Harshberger is slimmer than the others and maybe 6'3". Could be wrong. I mean, he's sat down there, so it's hard to tell. But I wouldn't say he looks that slim. It might be just another random person, a friend of Don's at the time. Just trying to work it out if anyone can identify who the person is on the right with the thumbs up. On the left, Ed. Don appears to be holding some kind of seat. Where that came from? Dale's bicycle. Yeah, I don't know why. In the back, it says Mac Grews. Mac Grews welcomes bikers. So Mac Grews must be the name of the bar. Bikers in general are welcome to visit. There is a sign back there, but I can't quite read it. There's any hints or indications that link to Sun's question? Hopefully it makes it a bit clearer. It seems to be like that over there, over the other side of the fence. This does not look like Montello from what I can see. Must be elsewhere, if anyone knows the location. Mac Grooves. I'll have to try and type that in possibly to Google Earth at some point and see if anything shows up. And then the final photo, wherever this is, some kind of outdoor space with a canopy, as you see. And inside of a house back there, with a stool. There's Ed once again, bent over, kind of. Okay. Some Christmas lights or so. Yeah, I mean, there's the photos. I just wanted to share them with you in case you didn't know what Don looked like or you forgot what he looked like. And I thought these two photos were somewhat relevant because it looked like it was to do with bikers, such as that biker gang. You know, maybe when people hear the term biker gang, sounds intimidating. It sounds bad and dark. And for some out there, yes, that can apply. But for others, it's just a motorcycle group of guys that, well, just people in general hang out together, ride bikes and whatnot. So some do it in a positive light, some do it in a negative light. Here, depends how you interpret it. Do any of you think a biker gang was responsible for Dylan's disappearance? Me personally, I don't think so. But you could argue and say that some individuals that are a part of a biker gang out there just happen to be responsible in Dylan's case individually. So I had a little rummage around on Google Earth just before when looking at that bar, and I have found it. I would say with a form of confidence, I have found it. I'll present it to you in the next video, so it's a bit more dedicated, focused, and easier to find and discover from the title. How much significance does it hold directly to the case of Dylan Rounds? Well, we can measure that soon. Be on the lookout for that video. I'm kind of surprised that I found it that quick. I mean, I did type it in first time round and it came up with a name of a location, Nebraska, and that popped a memory in my mind because I'm sure people made a reference to Nebraska in the past with Brenner, where he once lived or where he once got in trouble. So I thought, was there a link there? Turned out it wasn't the correct place. It was elsewhere. I don't know if it'll be of interest to you, but I'll still make a video on it. It might be a bit shorter, but there's no harm in that. But yeah, I can do like a side-by-side comparison as well when the time comes. Now, with that all under control, I just want to also acknowledge that there are 2 Kenny Veach videos I can do, just article ones, reviewing, analysing, but that can come a bit later, okay? There's some videos and ideas being pushed back, which is kind of a good thing, because other times when you're just counting down your next or possible last video on something, it's where do you turn to next, kind of. And whilst I spent time on Kenny Veach and how I was treated there by some, I thought, why not do something more positive? Dylan Rounds, keep it alive, re-energize, rejuvenate the case, the community on YouTube, because it has gone downhill, hasn't it? So that's what brings me on to the next talking point, okay? And it does incorporate my controversial videos and responses at times, which people deemed as either unnecessary or overkill. I'd say it's all justified and warranted, as said, based off what I've experienced, what I've been on the receiving end of, but there is a greater purpose and more depth behind it. While some may question it's a waste of time, what I've done previously, it's helped you learn who is who, what people are about, where do people stand, etc. It makes it easier for you to know who to trust and who not to trust. Now, for the people that already knew from the beginning, I understand, but new people do come along the way and they're not going to know, so it's important to inform them. And as I've always said, I've done this before in the past. Not as much of a direction, because in the past it was just randomly talking but making observations. Now I'm applying it to something of worth, value and importance, right? See, as a few people will mention in the background, these online encounters, people say that humans online are fake. Like, you can't trust them, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you had, that strict mentality, you could ask yourself then, well, why are you interacting here then? If you genuinely can't trust anyone and you think in general people are fake online, then what's the point interacting in the first place, right? At least from my perspective, what I would say is, in certain areas and platforms, there's a lot of narcissist and self-obsessed individuals and fake people as well with the filters. Oh yeah, photos or videos. We see it on YouTube, we see it on Shorts, but also on Instagram and of course TikTok, etc. More so by one gender over the other, for sure. But there are other ways people can fake themselves, such as males with the lighting and to do with muscle posing, angles, making it seem better than what it really is. It happens. Can you fake that type of stuff in real life? Not quite the same, but there'll always be other ways of faking yourself. See, from my individual experience, I came across fake people before I did online, okay? I came across bad, negative people in real life before online, okay? My reality is different to other people out there. There's a factor from my individual experience that people far away in other countries show more care and concern, maybe towards me, than people in the past in real life did, such as out there, like with friends, etc., right? I remember at one point when previous Christmas, where because of the virus and things cancelled and not able to do the same things as usual, back in the past now, but it was interesting how went on a simple walk, no one said Merry Christmas, no one gave anything, no one smiled, no one did anything. I just kept to myself. And then some person way far away from a completely different country just simply said, how are things? Really puts into perspective that sometimes people care more about you and they live miles away than people in real life, okay? So whilst you can always slander and call out people online, that there's bad people there, there's also bad people in real life. The most important factor you must understand, and I would say it's a fact, okay? People can be who they want to be online. They can be themselves for the right or wrong reasons. What you see there is what you may not see in real life. So if you can see it early on, it's over and done with. Just imagine if in real life, because people aren't quite the same, they might be cowardly, but they feel invincible online. You could be around those type of people in real life and unaware of their online activity and behavior. But you eventually see their dark, toxic side down the line. And it's too late. You get hurt, you get burned, right? And the other weird thing is misconception. People seem to generalize and word it as if anyone online is a different being, a different form of human compared to everyone in real life. I think people need to understand that people day-to-day real life, people you're around constantly, or people you may just randomly meet in the street, people you may work with, whatever it may be, at schools, colleges, workplaces, just in general, all, if not most of the people you meet or simply walk past probably have a digital footprint online and have at least one social media account or some kind of account online. Whether it be a Google account, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, etc. Different variations out there. A lot of people nowadays in real life will have some form of a social media presence. How they distinguish themselves and present themselves there online could be different to how you see them in real life. How you see them in real life, they could appear positive. How they appear online, they could be very toxic and narcissistic. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means it's the same person at the end of the day. They just show a different side to them when they can get away with it. So if they feel that they can't get away with it or they're not confident in real life around the people they're around, they won't show that side to them. But they will when they feel most comfortable. So people online can be the same people you meet in real life in the street, walking past a stranger or someone you know. Vice versa. People online are real life humans for most part of it. People in real life that use online are humans. That's why I don't understand why people seem to word it in such a weird way. You know, it's weird, first of all. I just wanted to clear that up because it's just dodgy. Now, with that being aside, let's apply it to the Dylan Rounds case and community. First of all, what's your thoughts on the Dylan Rounds community, true crime community as a whole? Do you find it's better now than it was in 2023, or worse, or in 2022? What's your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments section your own experiences before and after. How do you think and feel about the Dylan Rounds community as of right now? The last few months, whatever. Is it better now than it was back then, or has it got worse? I can share with you my outlook on things. I think one observation, and it's kind of self-explanatory, and I think most people will agree, the Dylan Rounds case and community is significantly quieter. Less noise, less rumours, less talk, less BS, less call-outs, less drama within, right? Besides the odd niggling thing on the sideline by the feral animals and the disease-ridden humans with their toxicity within, trying to drag me in. Not going to work, big boy. Not going to work. There's more chance of me whipping this out and giving that than there is the other way around, okay? So, you didn't know I've got an owl robe on right now. I'll show that shortly, but it's not quite relevant as to right now. The Dylan Rounds case and community as of nowadays is significantly quieter because, number one, there are less people involved in the case and the community. Quite a few people with time have moved on because they've got bored of the case. They've moved on to something more new and interesting. They've got sick of, let's say, this channel or the videos. They've gone elsewhere, right? Numerous reasons and factors. Some people have just got busy, right? People move on. But big shout out to the people that still remain in the case and especially on my channel. Whether it be people who've been watching since the start of Dylan Round's case or even before that in Kenny Veach, such as Smooth Fishing and a few other people, okay? Shout out to those people. I know Watch Your Crazy, you said you came across my Kenny Veach videos in the past, just out of interest because I do forget at times. Whether you see this or not, or later, leave a comment down below, Watch Your Crazy. What year did you first come across my videos about Kenny Veach? Out of interest. Now, with that in mind, with less people in general being around, there'll be, less noise. But I think another key factor is there are less key characters nowadays, right? So from the YouTube streets, from communities over that way, you know who I'm referring to. Not as engaging, not as active with the case of Dylan Round, simply because what is there to talk about? Well, there are things to talk about here because I can think of things other people can't, right? Even though there might be other people out there that have to rely on 2 to 6 people on a panel and a live chat for conversation and stuff to talk about, I don't rely on any of that. Here, one-man army, pre-recorded video, all under control, okay? I've heard Dale burnt down the Sea Life Centre in recent time, all under control. The water was wet, it put the fire out. Sinaloa Tacos offered to release some of her water, wasn't needed in the end, all under control. Metaphorically speaking, that's when you know there's nothing to worry about, okay? So, with less key characters, there is less drama, there's less noise, there's less BS, there's less rumours. So you can say it's kind of a win-win. There'll always be a few rough edges in the background, but not as bad as it once was. Not as many people talking over one another. Not as many conflicting cross theories or ideas. Not as much poor language wording used nowadays where people turn a theory idea into a fact or an event. We've seen that before, haven't we, from over there? It doesn't happen now. Have those people lost interest in the case? No. A couple of them are just anticipating, waiting for the trial of Brenner, the preliminary hearing, waiting for the next key thing. Ironic, isn't it, that the disruptors, the dysfunctional misfits are anticipating, patiently waiting for the original narrative and the original people working on the case. That all these people are awaiting for the next formal piece of news and evidence. News articles, interviews, the court itself, documents to be released. Why are all these people waiting so patiently now for the formal news when they took it upon themselves before that to make things up and to spread a load of BS? Why is that stopped? Have they suddenly seen the light? Have they realised that, maybe we should listen to the actual case and story now? I wonder. A massive turnaround. I mean, I still think it's because there's not as much to talk about now. What is there left to talk about in the eyes of other people? So they can't really add much more else on, because if there's been a lot of BS already and it's faded away, what more can be added when enough was added in the first place? Maybe in the background, people are secretly waiting for the next big formal piece of news on the Dylan Round's case, so then they can twist it, manipulate it, and disagree with it, critique it, and come up with alternative claims and points, right? See, I'm being realistic here, okay? The state of the community right now is the best it's ever been, at least from my point of view. Less people in the community, less key annoying characters, less BS, less conflict for the wrong reasons, okay? Drifting apart from the case. That's good. There's more time to think, more time to breathe, more time to go with the flow and work things out as you go along. No rushing, no competitions, no direct resistance. It's better now. Better now than it has ever been before. People were like really passionate early on saying, yeah, it's good, everybody, getting on into the case. When has it ever been a good thing, multiple people involving themselves in a true crime or missing person case mystery, right? A couple of people working on it, yeah, it can be good. But many, several people, several different channels, whilst, yeah, different perspectives, different points of views, it also leads to higher chances of conflict, misunderstandings, outdoing one another, toxic evolutionary competitiveness, and trying to make one another look bad, and disagreements and misunderstandings which create tension on top of all the different communities and audiences of fanboys, yes men, yes women, that nod heads, that single sayings and cult-like mentalities and all kinds of manipulation going on there, brainwashing, and then sent out to attack others. It's a complete mess. The more people are present, the more chaos can come about, right? If you had one person in a room, it is what it is. You add 100 people into a small room, probably going to get a bit messy, a bit uncomfortable. It'll get a bit heated in many ways, okay? Now, Dale was locked in a room recently with about 500 guys. He was anticipating 5 guys, but got 500. Kind of unique, that. I think it was a form of abstract art to really understand the depths Dale will go to and how he'll be stretched about in all kinds of positions, right? Interesting. I think Dale will be the next art piece in the future, hung up on a wall, maybe, in a painting. Different. I think Matt Lingo has already bidded on the photo for about $10. Might be reduced down to 5, so definitely worth the value there. But being serious, right? I just think when you got a certain amount of people working on a case or just covering it, not too many, it's just the right number. Even one person working on it is fine. Okay, less material, less things to work with, but more time to think and less disruption and distractions. It's not always a bad thing. And I guess the overall positive you can say about Dylan Rounds, whether you agree with this point or not, at least you've experienced both sides. When it was very active and a lot of people were engaging in it, and then now, a bit quieter, a bit more laid back, and just going with the flow. See, some people have managed to experience both sides of it, which could be a positive in its own way. You let me know which way you prefer it, the 2022, 23 days, or 23, 24 onwards. Which one do you prefer as for the community? Now, besides the factors of people being busy or getting bored or waiting for the next piece of news in the background and others moving on in general, doing other stuff and being dragged elsewhere where drama falls, I'd say that my presence, my analysis, my pinpoint key accurate videos and observations made about humans within the case and the community, pointing out the hypocrisy, the two-faced nature, the goldfish mentality, the worm effect, the Noah's Ark effect, the Matrix Brokeback effect, all kinds of stuff going on there, which I've referenced back then, which led to predictions and me getting it right most of the time as for predictions, okay? Highlighting humans standing out, observing changes in behavioral traits and patterns and attitudes within people, all very valid, okay? At the beginning, at the start of it all, very important. Repeated coverage, I can understand from regulars, why are we going back to it? Why are we referring to those people who are insignificant? Well, what I would say from my coverage, what I've said, what I've done, it has led to a bit of a pushback. It may have even led to some people distancing themselves from me or this channel, right? They've shown their true colours, and it's important for that to happen. What you would call it, if you don't quite understand, is cleansing by the minute, okay? You cleanse something, it'll appear more purer, brighter, clearer now, and lighter, okay? Isn't that what you want? Do you want a form of peace, a form of tranquility, a place to breathe and think openly without feeling like there is a disease attached to you or in your presence where it might drag you down or consume your energy? If I can be the light that pushes it away, isn't that a good thing, right? because that's kind of like what I've done. Through some of the analysis and long talks, as boring as it may be for some out there, it has cleansed the community. It's cleansed the Dylan Rounds community up to a certain point. It's most definitely cleansed my channel, right? It is a time where we come across dodgy humans for the wrong reason. Out comes this, they jump over the fence, okay? Watch her crazy, she stands still. Why? Because she's in quicksand? She might be, but she knows what this is all about, okay? All under control, isn't that right? Yes. So, little changes like that and references and points and drawn out videos or short formed ones, it can help push away the darkness, okay? So whilst my videos in general have helped people adapt and overcome obstacles and humans and darkness out there, my videos have been of worth and value in that aspect. In addition to it all, it's led to a pushback of darkness in general by me sacrificing myself in a way, sacrificial gorilla, because that's what I identify as. If you didn't know, I identify as a gorilla. Some people identify as a goldfish. That's why it's easy to flush them away so quickly. Just like their thoughts, they seem to forget so quickly what happened in the past. Hence why history repeats itself. But if you can push away and break the cycle of humans out there, the disruptive nature of them, it won't happen again. Or it'll be less frequent, so it will benefit the people that just want to watch and sit there and listen into the normal videos without having to deal with all the other baggage along the way, right? There's always that option though, of course, to block people. I don't enjoy it, but sometimes it might have to be necessary. Now, this is the thing, as a heads up, YouTube some time ago removed the feature. You can't block people. You can block people in a live chat of a channel and you'll never see them again in the live chat. But you can't block a person on YouTube from the comment section or from the user page. If you go onto somebody's channel and you click the drop down box, it will say hide this user from your channel. It won't block them, it just hides them. How politically correct and BS is that? Ridiculous, isn't it? Now, is blocking a good thing? Not always, because it can lead to a reaction from the person being blocked. Other times, though, I think if it's down to repeated offences, same old, then maybe action should be taken. If you get a pathetic, worthless, dead end, waste of space, random default channel popping up and you know it's that typical BS and it happens again and again and again, it's the same thing, it's the same person. So while she may be seen as blocking multiple people, you're just simply blocking multiple channels belonging to one individual. That's it, okay? It's not as bad as you think. The only other people that are worthy of possibly being blocked are two-faced individuals, because I don't like the idea of positive people also having a dark side but only showing one or the other randomly in an unstable way. I don't like that. And if it's down to repeatedness, no, it brings the community down. It drags everyone else down in a way. So there's that. But, you know, people individually have their own choices to block people in the chat. If you don't get on well with others, no harm. See, I know in the past people got triggered when Badger Life blocked outsiders out there. So what? Why does it matter so much what Badger does or what anyone else does? If a person blocks you and you're not exactly best friends, it's not the end of the world. I can understand if you've been friends with somebody or got on well with somebody for some time and then you just randomly got blocked and you felt like you've been betrayed or stabbed in the back and it's not a pleasant experience. But on the occasions where an individual may have a real motive and a real true reason for doing it, maybe as a form of, I don't know, avoiding being hurt or pain, then they may block somebody for the right reasons. But then, as for most of the other times, people will block one another just in general in life online. Even in real life, when it comes to blocking a phone number, doesn't have to be directly online. It can be through a phone number or a text message, not exactly online, right, through social media. People will block people because they have a reason to do so. And if you don't know one another that well, or you're not that close, then it shouldn't be taken that much as offense, should it? But people have got triggered by it all. I mean, some people have blocked me here and there in the past, and I was like, oh, well, okay. So, it doesn't really matter, does it? You should, sometimes, not always, sometimes you should be grateful that a person decided to block you instead of go after you and go on and on and on. Because I've been in that situation, okay? With the obsessed gay obsession individuals from the Kenny Veach case community. Some people out there, weird individuals, okay? Very dysfunctional and obtuse. Sorry, did I just hear the word obtuse? Hopefully I don't summon anyone from the dark realms. Anyway, I've come across some people out there, right, how they behave, and instead of them blocking me, no, they had a hate campaign against me and went all in. Okay, I defended myself as I should, but you see, it can differ from person to person. People can block you, other people can just go after you over and over again. So sometimes appreciate it when someone blocks you because it could have been much worse, right? Anyway, I think all in all, it's under control here. Most of this video was of importance to Dylan Rounds. Just wanted to add on a bit of explanation in the background as to why I did what I did previously, why I did my responses, how I transformed it, how I upcycled it into a more meaningful way, and that more could be taken from it of value and use and importance to help you out there who's watching this video and those who've watched videos in the past. And it's also repelled the darkness, right? Because the difference between an in real life casual interaction with a cancerous human and online within a case which you're assigned to, or you do it as part of your role on YouTube because you're a creator, one is casual, one is likely a one-time interaction. You bump into someone, whatever happens, you part ways, you never see them again. Online, in a case or community, you have a bad interaction, you part ways, you see them again the next day or the week after. They hang around like a bad smell, okay? So that's why in real life it's easier at times to brush things away and just move on. Online, not quite the same with that presence ongoing. If you surround yourself in a community or case, which the problem does as well, how do you put up with that? You can't really. I mean, that could be the equivalent on some exceptions within real life where someone had an affair with somebody else, but you live on the same street or neighborhood, so you're always going to see them every single day. Yeah, that's problematic. You can't always do much about that. The extreme would be to move away from the area, but why should you have to move away just because of that other person? So, if there was natural methods which could cause the cancer to move away themselves, then why not? Online, like how it's been demonstrated here. Know what I'm doing, and it's worked. Predictions made, worked, did happen, there we go. Do I have any more predictions at this moment in time? Well, as for Kenny Veach, when I do the 2 article videos on that, I'm not going to focus in too much with the communication in the comments, right? Because of the way people have been. Regulars, well, I know who those people are, so that's fine, but I'm going to be a little bit quieter when it comes to the Kenny Veach stuff. Still doing the videos, but not as responsive, okay? For the best outcome, that's why. Under control. So hopefully you found this video interesting. Of course, be on the lookout next time for that Don Hatley one and the map related video. Very interesting. Eagle Vision. Then after that, be on the lookout for the Jubilee truck map analysis, and then the other Dylan Rounds videos, about 3 or 4, and then 2 Kenny Veach videos. There's a range of stuff to do. It will come eventually. I can only do 1 video per day or 1 every 2 days just because if I overdo it, not everybody sees the videos and YouTube kind of screws me and punishes me for being too consistent. Okay, it is what it is. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night for now.